Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Ankur. I'll be talking about the startup ecosystem in India to some extent, and also the emerging AI technologies. Uh, Both topics are interesting and very close to my heart. So we'll try to give equal importance to each. Uh, just give a quick background about myself. I've been in this industry for almost 25 years. Right from college days, doing assembly programming to working as a call center agent, and also doing implementations, private cloud design, support, and solution architect engineering, along with DevOps and many other roles. Uh, you know, you do what uh, pays the bill, right? Uh, so that's about me. I do work in a firm in Pune, and I've just traveled this morning to give this lecture. So hope I have enough rest to and have enough energy to speak to you all. I call myself infrastructure engineer with key focus on automation, DevOps as well, and with AI trying to help. I think that just goes hands in hand. The few pillars of the slides, we talk about ecosystem builders, and we'll spend some time talking about what are the different startup ecosystem builders. What is seed funding, what are incubators, right? What are accelerators, and VC, and how VCs nurture the AI startup. India has almost 520 plus incubator ecosystem, and that's quite huge. The success matrix, that I have captured recently is 40% Series A funding, and versus 5% that's bootstrapped. Uh, there is a funding explosion when it comes to startup with AI. So we'll talk about that. AI funding has hit 202 billion in 2025. That's billion dollars. 50% of all the VCs, which was 46% in the previous year. 50% of all the VPs are focused on AI startup, right? Startup with AI. India has around 1.4 billion funding surge. The sector breakdown, which I see is majorly is generative AI first. That's the key focus. Thanks to the Transformer, Attention All You Need paper, OpenAI, and other initiating companies who helped give this generative AI a good stage. Then we have different bifurcation like fintech, health tech, and we'll see what VCs are actually looking for. India is definitely in a rise. 2025, India ranked third, which on 2023 we were seventh, right? So if you see, we have jumped from seventh to third space. There is a dollar 1.5 trillion TAM. TAM, I know I'll be using some acronyms, so I'll try to explain as much as I can, but these are not very complex, right? So TAM is basically total addressable market. Now, if you see, India has a bigger TAM than other countries, so definitely there is a good potential. 1.3 million AI talent, right? So within the country, there's a lot of people who are working on AI. The roadmap is to become 20 billion ecosystem, right? So let's focus a bit on startups, and within the ecosystem, everyone has some idea in their mind, right? But to be able to nurture that idea to production, or to be able to give it to someone to test it out, it goes through few formal processes. I know some companies or some education institute, they have formal incubators, right? So that's pretty good. And if there isn't one in this environment, I think I would strongly suggest we have some mechanism where the incubators are built. Basically, incubators after the initial startup idea and nurturing, and working with your close friends, relatives, right? Incubation chambers are basically within the colleges. They help you build the foundation of the startup, right? The duration that really depends on the startup and the idea, but it's usually from 6 to 24 months for early stage idea nurturing, because you have to discuss your idea, make sure you have some edge that you're trying to deliver from the idea, right? It could be the same thing that's available in the market, but unless you are a differentiator in some way or the other, right? It could be the ecosystem, it could be service delivery, it could be the network, it could be the customer connection, it could be the language, right? So you need to understand your strong points and then take it forward. The main benefit of incubators are it's non-dilutive, and what I mean by that is the equity or the full value of your startup is not diluted when you work with incubators. They're there to help you out, right? They give you some kind of grants. They may definitely give you a workspace, right? Mentorship, because many startups they go from those incubators. The mentorship does really help. The success rate, which I have seen, or based on the recent research, 40% startups who go via the incubators, they reach Series A funding, versus 15% who are bootstrapped. Right? The key services that incubators kind of help you with MVP prototyping, right? You might have a startup with maybe 100 features, right? 10 features, right? But within those, you need to understand what's your most valuable feature, right? What's the most valuable product that you're trying to give it to the customer first, right? If you take any website, or maybe take any online selling platform, you should first onboard what you want to sell. So onboarding becomes the first priority, and then customers should be able to buy those, right? So that those 5 or 10 features are the core feature of your environment, that you may decide and then move forward for it, because you need to make sure the process is as quick as possible. You cannot spend maybe 100 days trying to create a support page or a chatbot when there is no audience to interact with, right? You may start with something very basic but very relevant. So that's your MVP prototyping, as in these things would be a market validation. So many incubators, they have built startups, so they understand the market. So you may get validation from the market or a particular segment that will help. Tech support that they may provide. Now, apart from these, one key area is the pitch preparation. When you create something, you need to be able to discuss that with the next person who's gonna buy a product or give funding to it. So you need to have a pitch deck very clear. Pitch deck is not a PowerPoint presentation. It's not a slideshow. It's not a document, right? It's your ability to not convince the investor or the customer. It's your ability to convey what you're trying to give to them, right? And you should never prepare a fancy pitch deck which is trying to convince somebody, right? That's not the objective. India has the advantage. I can probably say that we have, based on the research, right? Of course, so 520 plus active incubators. So we are third globally, and for these reasons, right? 42% was established in the last 5 years. I just laughed because this, you need to realize the speed of incubation and the focus in the last 5 years that has happened, and that's the reason we are talking about this, right? There are many startup journeys, right? And I just picked up one which came first in the search result. Servam AI. So when I got this name, I tried to research on it, and I could see that they built India's first sovereign language model, as per what I can see. It's an alternative to OpenAI, right? But the key factor is it's not just a ChatGPT wrapper, right? It's not a program written just to get input from you and send it to a third platform, right? That's not the real idea. It's about what they're trying to deliver with core models. They have text to speech and voice models, where they are able to talk in different languages. So that's right. That's removing the barriers between two state within India, right? They can communicate very easily without worrying about what language other person is speaking, and also respecting each other's languages with this kind of sovereign model, which is very much required. That's the technology part, and I'll just share with you the timeline, how quick they were, right? And because they had that differentiating factor, May 2023, they got funded by Lightspeed for 41 million Series A, right? December 2023, just 5 months old, they raised 41 million, fastest for India startup, at least what I found. April 25, 50 crore grant from India AI Mission. And we'll talk a bit about this in particular. So whenever anybody is working on a startup, you need to understand what pain point you're trying to solve, right? At the same time, you need to make sure what are the benefits you can leverage that's available. You don't want to burn your capital, you don't want to burn VC capital, right? Venture capitalist capital or investor capital, right? Building a startup is never about burning anyone's money. Everybody has hard-earned money. Try asking, someone to just lend you money. You would understand, right? It takes a lot of effort. So make sure you look at funds and grants that can help you make decisions faster, can help you ease what you're trying to acquire or procure or reach the market. As on December, I won't say a few months, few weeks back, right? The Series B is in progress. So we'll talk about what Series 1 and Series B are. But as we speak, the Series B discussion is in progress, and it's $50 million plus. It's expected to close this quarter 2026. Right. The key learning from this particular startup, which I'm using as an example, I don't know anyone from this startup, but the key learning for this is the government grants, right? Plus VC equity. So they had the best of both worlds. It's a dual funding model for AI startup, and they receive non-dilutive government support while raising VC capital, and that's a pretty good thing. Similarly, when the different state gets involved, based on the current statistic as on last month, the T-Hub Hyderabad, 500 plus startups, NASSCOM 300 plus AI startup, IIT Incubator, Delhi, Bombay, Madras, 100 plus support startups each weight. It's tech driven. Startup India Seed Fund, almost 1,000 crore. 2,000 plus startups they have funded, all non-dilutive grants. You can search on the exact process or which is relevant for your startup or as of this date. But this is a big thing. You need to make sure you understand, is there any tax benefit? These things are equally important, because when you're trying to build something, you need to understand you're not building it just for yourself, you're building it for the community, for the country, and maybe for the whole entire world. So if you're doing something for everyone, just make sure you get the same thing back via grants or support. Maharashtra does have a strength, because I'm speaking in Maharashtra. ते सांगायला पाहिजे. पुणे स्टार्टअप हब, that's government backed in Baner, COAP, Venture Center, 15 plus registered incubators for IIT, SaaS, FinTech, and EdTech. So when you're searching incubators or accelerators or different fund, make sure you understand the category you are searching in, because that's very key, right? Everybody is not specialized in everything, so domain expertise does help. We talked about incubators quite a bit, right? Quite a brief. So let's look at what are accelerators, right? So when you incubate the idea, you have market validity. Your product is used by the market. Customers are actually paying for it, right? It may be with monetary value, so they might be paying you money, subscription, or the time they are investing on your platform. Both can be realized, right? So that means you have good incubation and you are ready for the next step, which is scaling what you have, and you need to do it fast. Speed, I always mention, is very important as of this generation, right? Because the information age is gone. Now we have already passed that. The information is available. Whatever you want to do, to a major extent, you can figure it out, right? There is no information blockages at this point, and you have access. Well, not access to everything, because 50% of the population of the world may be still offline, right? So whatever is your TAM, totally addressable market, if you're able to access it and you have a plan for it, you need to get connected with accelerators. So they help scaling. The time frame is less, because it's very focused, 3 to 6 months cohort based program, right? The investment model is equity plus capital. So it's no longer just non-dilutive, because they have specialization, they have good network connections with the investors, right? You might have seen many series going on, online, offline, sharks, investors, right? So people are ready to help with some interest, which is equity in this case, around 100 to 500k, depending on the size of your startup. There's almost 6 to 7% dilution or less. It really depends how you negotiate, right? And what value you're trying to offer versus what the value they see them. The success rate is more. So if you are bootstrap, or if I say, if you have an idea in your mind right now, if you develop it individually without any support, the chances for that to become reality is in single digit, right? Let's be honest here, we all had some thoughts in our life. The chances of we doing it individually is less. Realize it and move to the next step. Seed funding, if you convince your family and friends, your chances become maybe 9 to 12%, right? In incubation period, if you're able to convince your incubator, the chances can go up till 40%. But the success rate, right? But when you get connected with accelerators, right, and it could be in any form, the chances to reach Series A funding is 60% what based on the data within 24 months versus 25% who are non-accelerators. So there's no accelerator involved. The chances are really less. They help you with demo day power, right? Which basically means 70% of the startups who work with accelerators secure follow-on investor meeting. Assuming you have a good idea to showcase, right? So that's the key. So these things would not matter if your idea itself is not lucrative enough, right, for the investors to invest in. So that's given. Average 5 to 10 million Series A. The value add the accelerators do is investor introductions, customer access. You might have reached a particular segment of customer group, uh, you know, as much as in your individual capacity. But when you connect with the accelerators in any form as such, they give you a big customer base, a trusted customer base, because the customer trusts the accelerator, and you get connected. There's a good GTM strategy. There's a network effect. So these things are definitely there. If you Google for startups, you'll find a few more startups like Secure Arc. They raised around $1 million per startup, right? Uh, Mostly all are B2B sales, SaaS plus AI. 2025 Lightspeed accelerators, 10 billion plus. Deep tech AI, right? Around half a billion. Investment. Plug and Pay Mumbai, fintech, health tech, SaaS. These are not only just buzzwords. It's not a bubble. It's ground reality. The focused startups like fintech, health tech, ed tech, dental tech, and tomorrow it could be a wisdom tooth tech, right? And that's the real essence of the different startups. They're trying to specialize and give the max quality. So for example, if you make a wisdom tooth tech company, you specialize in the wisdom tooth, for example, right? The dental tech has the ability to understand the entire tooth structure. And I'm giving you just hypothetical example, but you get the picture. Now they can research themselves about wisdom tooth and get to that stage. But if you already have a wisdom tooth tech, that can be acquired by the dental tech, which can then be acquired by the health tech, right? So I know acquisition is not the ultimate goal, but you need to understand the value you are trying to bring, and the sooner or later, either you can be B2C, so you are directly connected with the customer, or you are B2B, where you work with businesses, right? So if you have an idea that's more B2B oriented, then you may work towards that and use B2C just to showcase and establish what you have delivered. NASCOM is also there. Now, venture capital, right? The VCs, the short form I was referring to. If you see, right from the startup idea, seed funding, incubators, accelerators, now you are at the VC stage. Seed funding around 502 million. Your idea is validated. Around 8 to 10% equity may be diluted. 6 to 12 months, right? Series A, 5 to 15 million, and which is more for AI. You have validation, equity, 18 months from seed. Series B around 500 million. So you can see when you scale, you need more funds. You get board seats plus operation control, right? VC back success. Now we saw that individual idea, bootstrapping, less than 10%, 10 to 12%, incubators 40, accelerators 60, but when you are backed by VC, the success rate becomes 80%, right, versus 40% non-VC. And these are data. There are always outliers, but these are generic summarized data. So basically, there's 2 times faster exit timeline. The current trend we have seen, the deal speed is around 8 to 12 weeks for AI versus 16 weeks, which was previously. The top VC deals in India: Peak XV, Lightspeed, Elevation, Nexus. So these are some information, and I'm sure you would research more. The global AI funding, there was a chart, but that's not opening, but you'll get the idea. The AI funding has reached almost 225 billion plus, right? That's year to end last year, representing 46% of all VCs deployed, right? Foundation model, definitely they had value. So OpenAI 500, Anthropic 183, XAI 200. They all continue mega rounds. They have foundation models, and that's key, right? Not only immense skill is required to build those models, but immense amount of hardware, and more immense is the power, wattage, and heating it's consuming. So we'll talk about that also if you get a chance. Now there is a strategic shift, right? There's late stage dominance. 60% of AI funding in Series B versus 40% capital chasing proven models. What that means is, if you have built a startup or that's backed by AI, and you're able to chase capital, you have a way of subscription model, there are more chances for it to go to the next round. Mega rounds explode. 58% of AI in mega rounds. Series B average is 500 to 1 million billion versus 327 million in 2024. So you can imagine, in 2024 it was just 327 million, all the mega rounds for Series B and C, whereas now it's almost 1 billion. Foundation model concentration is there, so around 80 billion and 40% for AI funding to foundation labs. That's still 2x growth. Enterprise AI, they have reached 37 billion in 2025, 19 billion user facing, so websites, apps, 18 billion infrastructure, the cloud servers. The deal velocity is around 8 to 12 weeks. These timelines are very important when you're planning something, because you're not only planning for startup, you're planning for the entire lifespan of how you would work with that ecosystem. So understanding how much time it takes for every stage, so you can align yourself. Strategic insight. So VCs are betting on proven teams, right? Capital intensive model over experimental early stages. They're definitely favoring FANG or AI experienced founders, MANG, right? And with that, just I think few days back there was a new model launch, VLJPA. So in 2017, I know I'm just shifting a bit, but this is important to know that the VLJPA model that was built, that is very key to the next stage of AI startups. So if you get a chance, do look at VLJPA. It's by, I think, ex-Meta employee, similar to what ex-Google employee Mr. Vaswani published a paper on Transformers on 2017. Attention is all you need. Similarly, this VLJPA is said to be the next phase of AI, where it's not just using vectors and embedding and trying to find out all vectors which is near its cluster, and based on the weight it's getting the information, but it is understanding the context. So if you give two sentences which mean the same, it's not gonna look at them differently, right? So that's important. The different funding models, uh, the traditional VC path, which was their seed funding, then Series A, initial customers base, Series B, proven success, and now you want to scale, Series C, now you want to go mega round IPO, right? And towards IPO. Still 60% of the deal are going to this approach, that's proven, people have used it, so many go to that route. The new model is hybrid, where government grants, like you saw the example of the startup I gave you, government grants plus VC equity, that's 30% of the deal. Some works on safe agreements, and nowadays there's a new trend of revenue sharing model, where, well, it's not a new trend, but with SaaS kind of products, right? Where you're selling service, not exactly a product in the market. So the revenue is incremental. So there is not a lot of capex that they need to pump in, right, at the initial stage. It's a OpEx based model, and also SaaS offerings, so revenue sharing or royalty or whatever the investor agrees with the startup. They get percentage revenue until the capital is reached, right? There's still 10% adoption, and B2B SaaS is the focus. The full year, which is 77 year-on-year growth, around 1.4 billion. In just December 15 to 20, that week, right, 363.9 million, 26 startup funded, 95 million in just the last week of December, and that's an average of 20-25 deals per week, with the average size of 5 to 15 million. So you can understand the value you can bring by working on a particular startup. Backed by AI or generative AI. So AI evolution timelines, valuation, and so basically OpenAI, you can see that's the first company I've heard many years back, when they started ChatGPT, and they have built foundation models. So around 500 billion. India funding is around 1.5 billion, right? I know it's pretty less compared to one company revenue and the funding in from India, but we need to get there. The enterprise AI revenue is around 45 billion, that's projected. Now let's talk about AI sector funding, global versus India. The comparison is important, so we know where we stand. Globally, generative AI dominates around 47.5 billion. The enterprise AI is still 27 billion. CV, traditional AI, is around 4.2. Focus is on foundation model. India, the generative AI, around 8.5 billion, and different text domain. So you can see that health tech is 4, and fintech is around 5. So domain specific applications are there, and the reason now we are very focused on different tech, like fintech, edtech, agri-tech, right, which is very important as well. You can see the TAM. Fintech is around 16,500 crore TAM, edtech is around 41,000, and agri-tech is around 6,600. These data is available online, so I'm gonna skip that. Just closing the first half of the session on startups. So what VCs actually look for, right? So they look at your team, right? What kind of players you have, the composition, where you're from, and what skills that you bring to the table. What's the technical moat? Do you have proprietary models, patents, a unique data set, or any novel architecture, right? Most important, well, I wouldn't say most, but there is certainly a different weightage to unit economics. CAC payback is important, should be less than 12 months. CAC is customer acquisition cost. When we acquire a customer, when a company acquires it, what it means is like you log into a particular website to do some activity. Now, are you paying the company to do that, or the company is paying the infrastructure and you're just using it for free so that you get used to that platform, right? Marketing. So these are all customer acquisition costs, and those has to be recovered because they are additional to the actual product. Lifetime value, the and the CAC ratio should be 3:1. You should have more lifetime value than the cost. So that's the clear path of profitability. Otherwise, if the ratio is reversed, then if you're more cost than the value of the product, then you're making losses, right? Market validation, customers, pilot revenue. So you need customers paying point. If you create something and nobody's paying for it in terms of time and money, you don't have a product that is valid, right? It has to be market fit. You need to solve real pain point that's worth 100 million plus the total addressable market, which is we are trying to address. Because if you don't solve a real pain point, the startup itself validation goes for a toss. So make sure you look at those things. Let's go for a quick breakdown. Fintech, that's in INR, so I know I've been talking about dollars, so just I converted this for you. Fintech AI 16,000 plus crore, and the growth is more than 50% year on year. So fintech is definitely on the top. Finance matters, and with AI, right? And talk about that in the AI section as well. With AI itself, the background infrastructure has to be revamped in many cases, and that's the very key of the AI agents, right? Because these are one of the emerging AI technologies, and I talked about like VL right? The model. Yeah, JPA is joint embedding predictive architecture, right? So basically, those things, right? They're very key. That's gonna take you forward. So if you look at if you heard the CS, the CS that happened a few days back, tech giant CEO said, you have physics AI, and then you have AI that can understand physics. Now you need to build system that will use that, right? It's the same thing with humans. You understand and learn something, and then you apply it. AI as an ecosystem is now doing the same, and the extension of physics AI is robotics, right? The physics AI understood what are different parameters of the surrounding, what is gravity, what is heat, what is moisture, right? And after that, there are robotics, which is now taking it forward. So that is very important. Payment integration, I think that's still happening. There's no full trust in AI to give access to financial domain 100%, but definitely there is inputs to it. Health tech AI, health is important. It's 45% year-on-year growth. It's a boom sector because now, with moderated guidance, you can work with an AI that can guide you for many things. You don't have to, go and travel and get things done. You can do it remotely, and now even confidentially, and now with AI system where human is not really involved. I was speaking to someone a day before yesterday. He was mentioning about legal AI, right? So he's utilizing a firm that does legal tech for him. Now Previously, for small tasks or any legal matters, he has to go in to visit a legal counselor and then take it forward. So he's getting a call, cancel it. So I hope my audio stays still. So when the legal tech comes in, that saved him a lot of money and time, and there's a lot of validation, and eventually you will have trust. So that's you see, legal tech also mentioned there. Language translation, that's more than fintech, 55%. So to be able to communicate with different countries or states within India, it's important. The language translation, like the sovereign AI example I mentioned. Definitely you have edtech, because everything under the hood is education, right? That's a bigger umbrella, but it does have its own tech. So education and how you will communicate to the best of the ability. So the AI, edtech AI, on the left hand side, it understands what information it has, right? And on the right hand side, there is AI who knows the person and how he consumes information, and the gap would be bridged more efficiently. So if you tell me information in the language I can understand, and with the visuals and paragraphs and sentences I'm able to relate quicker, I would be able to get the information faster, right? So that's the power of edtech. Agri-tech, definitely that's emerging. So much land and so much, we all got to have to eat, right? So agri-tech becomes very key. How we, grow good crops which are healthy, with less pesticides, it's organic, those things, right? I mean, I don't fully understand agri-tech myself, but e-commerce tech is there, health tech is there. So these are all the emerging AI technologies which is going on, and the bifurcation. Going back to states, so Delhi 15%, Hyderabad 25, Bangalore 45, Pune 15. So the division is not equal, but we have to make sure India as a country grow together, and the more equality is there in terms of divisions and incubators, accelerators, funding equally, so that everybody gets equal opportunity to come in this market. We did see in the few slides before, right? India was ranked third globally. That's the Stanford AI Index. That's based on the Indian vibrancy score. So US 76, China 36, and India 21. So these are the other countries: Canada, UK, South Korea. I think they're soon catching up. Important is fastest growing among the top 10. So we are the fastest growing among the top 10, and 150 plus AI startups, right? That's very key. Why India has a competitive advantage? There's a good talent pipeline. Believe it or not, cost advantage is there, but still paid less. Market TAM, the total addressable market around 1.4 billion population, 124 trillion AI addressable market, right? You can address 124 trillion, but 50% is still offline. Massive. That's really massive. The digital infrastructure, with things like UPI, which is started in India, look at the amount of transaction it's happening and the value of AI. You might have seen, some banks, I don't know which bank everyone is, but in one of my bank, they are notifying me of unusual transaction if I'm doing it, right? So if on average, if I'm spending a few hundred daily or a few thousand a week, and suddenly if I spend a lakh, right, I'll get a call. Previously it was email alerts, but now I get a call asking me to confirm whether I want to approve this transaction or not, right? Regulatory tailwinds are there. The Startup India is the fastest growth 30-day incorporation. There's a 10-year tax holiday for AI startup. You may want to check what's applicable now, but that's it. This is what I found information a few months back. So different initiatives for the emerging AI technologies and startups. You have India AI Mission Union. So around 10,000 plus crore they have given for the past 5 years. If you When you're working with AI, you need a processor that can work faster. So you definitely need subsidies on CPU and GPU. So there is a GPU subsidy 40%. Sovereign models and 80,000 compute units available. So these are good initiatives by India AI Mission. Startup India Seed Fund, around, we discussed before as well, 1,000 plus crores has been granted, allocated 2,000 plus startup non-dilutive grants, right? 10 to 50 lakhs, and that's a huge number to test your idea. Nascam and Maharashtra AI Sandbox and Telangana, right? So these are different information that's available, which I'm showing here, but you can always go and see as well online. There are different AI startups here: Attentive AI, Observe AI, Core AI, Cropland, that's Agritech, Plantra, FinTech, and there are few many more, right? This is just a few I randomly mentioned. So it's always important to know which company is working on which technology or what is emerging. Now we talked about so much about the startups and the emerging AI technologies. So we need to understand what are the real barriers. There's definitely a GPU infrastructure gap based on my personal understanding, right? We do need almost 10 billion plus investments. There is partnership with AMD, OpenAI, right? So you can see 6 gigawatt AMD and 1 gigawatt the OpenAI. That doesn't address India's need. Access is still limited. I don't know how much of you have access to those. I mean, I don't. So the access is limited. So we need to see how we can get around that. Foundation models, right? India doesn't have a foundation model which is on the top, right? US has OpenAI, which dominates. China has alternatives. India's sovereign AI building sovereign AI, right? But it's still a few years behind. There is a VC scale gap. India around 1.4 billion versus US 50 billion. Even versus China, right? 8.10 billion. India is 6 to 7 times behind. But we are catching up. In the last 5 years, we have increased, but we have to accelerate that. Talent retention, so brain drain to different companies. Top AI talent to tend to move out, right? So we need government to support them and to be able to retain them. IP and patents are still less. Energy and cooling needs. So with AI in particular, the energy and cooling needs are more. So that is there. These are some of the projections. So in 2026, we see 40 to 60 billion funding, going with 100, 120, and 160 in the next decade. This year we have a lot of capital, dual funding model, global acceptance is there, cost advantage, and also the regulatory tailwind. So make sure you capture that when building AI. The key takeaways that I wanted you all to have is the global boom with AI, because AI funding has hit around 202.3 billion in 2025, right? Now 50% and more VCs are looking for AI startups. Ecosystem pillars, seed funding, incubators, accelerators, VCs. It's critical for startup success. You remember you're building something for the community, so make sure you involve the community, right? India's lead, we're third globally. We are market ready, 124 trillion TAM, total addressable market. While the 50% is still offline and beyond the reach of AI, but still there is potential. 1.3 billion AI talent, 20,000 crore plus common glance, right? The moment is now, because there's capital abundance. I'm getting goosebumps, but the moment is now, right? Don't miss out on this. The India AI revolution starts now, and the next unicorn could be one of you. And if you do make it to, connect with me, it'll be good to talk about it. I do talk shows on LinkedIn, so it's called Collaborate to Elaborate. We can connect there. Thank you so much. I know it was long, 51 minutes, and we don't have attention span of more than 10 to 20 minutes, right? So thank you so much for listening. Once again, I'm a speaker, Dr. Ankur Verma from Pune, work on DevOps, and I'm an AI ecosystem strategist and enthusiast. Love working and talking about AI, whether it's generative AI, traditional AI, the different way we can implement AI, like the RAG model, right? So, any questions, discussions? Let's talk about India's AI future. These are backups, right? So I think if somebody wants, I can send it out. But it's talking about different AI model. What is MCP? There's a lot of them, so I think we can close this. Thank you so much. It was wonderful talking about you. I'm not sure if we're taking questions online or offline. Let's stay connected, and I'd love to hear from the next speakers what they have to offer. I hope I was able to deliver the information that was captured. I'm sure I would have missed something, or something may not be fully updated, because things keep on changing. So we need to make sure we keep reading, we keep learning, and we move into the next stage of our life with AI as much as possible. And just from my personal learning, I think we have a few minutes, so we'll just talk about that. When I was working with products, software products, right, and we used to just implement them. So nowadays, in the past, we used to look at documents, maybe refer books, and then try to work with that product. Now is the time when you work with something, you want that product to talk back to you and answer your question. You want it to clearly mention what it can do, or if you're doing something wrong, it should be able to correct you, right? You don't want to spend hours and hours trying to research a solution to a problem, right? If you're working with the tool and it finds a problem, it should be able to give you suggestions of what it thinks is the problem, right? And there was a AI model, I'm trying to recollect the name, basically federated AI, right? So basically, now let's start federating information so that every different company can have their proprietary data, right? But you separate what can be given to the public. So a small example, if you're trying to connect one system to another, if you face a problem, and that's a standard system, standard protocols, right? The generic part you can separate it out and give it to the community, and you can keep the proprietary stuff to yourself if you want, and give it to people on subscription or whatever model you want, but start federating information. AI is nothing without proper data, so always find a way in the startups you're doing or the AI technologies that you're trying to use is you save your data, or in nowadays prompts, right? Because data is always saved so you need to save your prompts that you ask AI with maximum amount of context. What I mean is, I'll give you a very small example. I know everybody's from technology, so I'll use a technology example. When you ask maybe AI to create a web server for you, ask it with context, tell which directory, which protocol, give more information. So your learning is always on the top notch. You do not miss out on any information that is required to build a system. And if you're not sure, make sure you tell that person or AI to ask questions back to you and fill in the gaps, right? Fill in those missing information. This is very key. With that, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I'll end it now.